Okay, enough previewing the finals today. At least I think so. I might still have something else up my sleeve. But let's take a look back at where the Capitals started. So we've got a team that at its first years in the Stanley Cup Finals, as I'm recording this, Vegas is there. What about Washington's first ever season? I don't think I've ever documented this. Let's take a look. They had 8 wins out of 80 games. 8 wins, 67 losses, 5 ties, 21 points, 181 goals for, 446 goals against. The power play was 12.9%, so the good news is it's still better than whatever the Blue Jackets had out there this season. But their penalty kill was 71.34%. That's bad. That's really bad. Their goaltending, Ron Lowe, who still had a career after this, went on for quite a while actually. 8 wins, 36 losses, 2 ties, 5.45 goals against average, and an .855 save percentage. Wow. Michael Belhumer, 24 losses and 3 ties. I didn't announce his wins because he didn't have any. 5.37 goals against and an .861 save percentage. He would play a total of 42 games between 2 seasons in Washington. Never had a win. He had 9 wins the year before he went to Washington as a Philadelphia Flyer, and this just ruined him. He was just done. His career was over after that. He played, I think, 7 or 8 games the year after this, and just, no. The sad part is he has a better goals against and save percentage than Ron Lowe, and Lowe got all 8 wins. John Adams, 7 losses in the 8 appearances. He had 6.90 goals against, .833 save percentage. Wow. I gotta say, this is embarrassing. Their number 1 pick was Greg Jolly, who is really one of the lowest ranked number 1 picks ever in the history of the game. There were 30 teams in the league between the World Hockey Association and the NHL at this time. So because they added them and Kansas City, and we know Kansas City didn't last, it's amazing Washington did either. And this is part of the problem with the idea of just throwing, just giving players nobody wants. This is what happens, especially when you've got a lot of teams struggling. And remember, this is before the European invasion. So they drafted 25 guys in the entry draft that first year. A lot of rounds, I guess. And all 25 were Canadian. So this is when the league was dominated by Canadian players, meaning you had a much smaller talent pool to pull from. Europeans were making their way into the World Hockey Association, not the NHL. So again, you're really straining the talent pool. Their wins. Let's get into their wins. October 17th, they beat Chicago 4-3. That's early in the season, so there was no indication yet just how bad they were going to be. November 19th, they beat the California Golden Seals. You know how things went for them after. 6-4. December 15th. These are a month apart. Does anybody else notice that? They're a month apart. December 15th, they beat Toronto 3-1, meaning they did relatively well against original 6 teams, not named Montreal. And Boston, too. January 26th, so over a month, again, versus Detroit, they win 6-3, and Detroit was in the bottom at that point. That might have been part of the reason why nobody wanted to play in Detroit. You guys lost to the Capitals. February 11th, they beat the Rangers 7-4. February 16th, they beat Kansas City 3-0 because Kansas City was crap too. So, of the 8 wins, we'll get into that because the only win they had on the road was on March 28th at California. So they beat California twice and they beat Kansas City once. So of the 8 wins they got, including April 6th, which was the last game of the year against the Penguins 8-4, 3 of the 8 wins came against teams that wouldn't exist in those locations within a few years. So if you lose to the Capitals, good chance you're moving. They were 1-39 on the road. Just let that sink in. 39 out of 40 times they failed on the road. And when they did win on the road, they carried a garbage can. They all signed a garbage can and skated around with it and celebrated in the dressing room like they just won the Stanley Cup, because for them, as they said, that was their Stanley Cup, was a trash can. I don't have any information on where that trash can went. If anybody has that trash can, I don't know how much the signatures of these guys would be worth, and I'm being really nice, but I don't know, because a lot of these guys weren't known at the time and still aren't well known now. So I would think, just as an article of curiosity, that garbage can might be worth some money to somebody, but I would think you kind of have to be a Caps fan or a crazed collector. Crap. So they were 139 on the road. Let's get into the statistics, though, because the statistics are kind of fun. Tommy Williams was their leading scorer. 73 games, 22 goals, 36 assists, 58 points. Those are pretty good. A minus 69 is not. Plus minus is a horrible stat, but it's really telling here. Bill Mickelson, these are three guys who stood out other than the top guy. Bill Mickelson, 59 games, 3 goals, 7 assists, 10 points, minus 82. So Bill comes off the ice. How'd I do tonight? You're only a minus 1. That's pretty good. Greg Jolly, 44 games, 1 goal, 7 assists, 8 points, minus 69 for the number 1 draft pick. He's a defenseman, so you don't expect the scoring to be up there, but wow, minus 69 in 44 games. Maybe that was a bad idea to bring him up for this season. This is kind of why, when a team is garbage, that as hockey fans, experienced hockey fans, we say just keep him away from that. Because you can ruin a prospect doing that. And finally, Jack Lynch, 20 games, 1 goal, 5 assists, minus 54 in 20. For him, he'd come off the ice at the end of the game. How'd I do? You were only a minus 2 tonight. That's pretty good. This is the disastrous, and the disastrous expansion team is now meeting the most successful expansion team in the finals. Ha-ha! I did a comparison anyways. But is this fun to look at? It'll be fun to look back on 2 weeks, 2 years, 2 months from now. It was the worst team in NHL history. The Ottawa Senators, their first year were pretty miserable too. But no, they were pretty miserable too. They barely beat these Washington Capitals. It was kind of a disaster. It's sad that all of the wins the Capitals got are right here. That's it. That's all you need to know. And they had one every month except February, the shortest month. They had 2 wins in a week. That was a pretty good week. And then to celebrate, they didn't win again until March 28th. So, and that was a road game. So they didn't win at home between February 16th and the last home game of the season. Can you imagine going and watching the home team and 12 times out of 40 they don't lose? And only 7 of those are a win? That's rough. And again, I totally understand why Washington may struggle to draw in those situations. And with the teams that followed, it was a while before this team was any good. I think it was 82. The 82-83 season, I believe, was the first year they made the playoffs. And this is why. It's really hard to recover from this. An awful expansion, but kind of a great story. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. You just happened upon this video. And thank you guys so much for watching. I'll talk to you again soon.